Hello, welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to keep looking at the Conflux decks, and we're going to look at Jund Appetite for War, which is, I have no idea why they decided to make it such a long deck name. It's not very catchy, but here we are. So yeah, black, red, green, and yeah, let's just start looking at it. So, one of the rares in the deck is Voracious Dragon, which is 3 and 2 red for a 4/4 flyer with Devour 1. So Devour's back. So yeah, Devour being the Jund gimmick sort of keyword. Devour basically means as it comes into play, you can sacrifice any number of creatures, and basically for every creature sacrificed, you get that many like +1/+1 counters on it. So Devour is usually 1. So every creature you eat, you get 1 +1/+1 counter. But if you got Devour 2 or Devour 3, you instead get that many counters per creature instead. So what I quite like with Conflux is they started to play a little with this idea of how many creatures it devoured when it came in, like as we can see in Voracious Dragon. So when it comes into play, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to twice the number of goblins it devoured. So we do have some ways of making goblins. There's quite a few goblins in the deck. So yeah, this could be sort of a big potential. I think even if it comes in, eats, say 2, say you do dragon fodder and then do this. So it's coming in then with 2 +1/+1 counters. So it's a 6/6 flyer then for 5. And then it's also doing 4 damage to something, which I think is okay. I think it's all right. So yeah, I think that's an okay rare to start off with. We have a Gluttonous Slime, so 2 and a green for a 2/2, has Flash and Devour 1. So yeah, this is maybe a good thing to throw out in the middle of combat, or maybe throw out if one of your creatures is going to die to removal anyway. Throw out the Gluttonous Slime and eat it anyway, so at least you get a +1/+1 counter, I guess. That's a use for it. And Hellkite Hatchling, so this also is part of what I said, like some of your cards caring if they ate something. So Hellkite Hatchling, 2 1 red 1 green, 2/2 with Devour 1, and it has flying and trample if it devoured a creature. So yeah, actually, if you devour a creature, you get a pretty good deal for it, because then it's 4 mana for 3/3 with flying and trample, which is actually pretty good. Yeah, you would like, this is such a trap choice though, because you would never play it without devouring creature, because then you're just paying 4 mana just for a 2/2. So it's a bit kind of unbalanced either way. Like there's not kind of like a middle ground for it, I suppose. Yeah. So you have two Katung Thalids, so 1 green for a 1/1. When it dies, you get a 1/1 green sapling creature token, and that's kind of exactly the kind of card this deck sort of wants. You got your Devour creatures, so they eat the Thalid, and then it poops out a sapling, which can be eaten by another creature later on. So yeah, pretty good creature to have, I think. We have a Scarland Thrynax, so 1 black, 1 red, 1 green for a 2/2. Sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Yeah, I suppose that's fine. I've just noticed as well, that's the, I haven't used the right symbol. This is, I think, from one of the Commander products, because that's not the Conflux symbol. Oh, what a faux pas I've created. Oh. But anyway, yeah, so the effect, I think it's okay. I don't know whether this needs to be like triple color, because it's an okay effect. It's not super strong though. Yeah, I think this would have been fine just being like maybe just maybe like black and red, or red and green maybe. I don't know. I don't know why it needs to be 3 colors. Anyway, it is what it is. And then we have a Sprouting Thrynax, so 1 black, 1 red, 1 green for a 3/3. When it dies, it makes 3 saplings, so it's kind of just like a bigger 2 Katung Thalid, really, I suppose. So yeah, again, like plays perfectly well into the deck, I think. Something eats it, and it makes sapling creature tokens, which then something else can eat. So yeah, perfect, really. So the other rare of the deck is Charnel Horde Worm. So big 7 mana, 6/6 trample. Whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you can return a card. Doesn't have to be just a creature card, which I initially thought it was. Any card from your graveyard back to your hand. So yeah, this is pretty good, honestly. Yeah, 7 mana is pretty expensive to get there, but it having trample is really good, because then it means, if it gets blocked, this ability is usually going to go off, which I think is like nice design. Yeah, I think this is a pretty fun card, and I imagine like once it got going, it'd be kind of hard to deal with, like if it's always constantly bringing something back. Yeah, I think it's all right. 2 Carrion Thrash. So we talked about this in the last Jund's deck, I think this is just a bit overcosted for what it does. Because it's 5 mana for a 4/4, and it's in 3 different colors. And then when it dies, you can pay 2, and if you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I went over this a lot in the last day. I basically think that ability should be free, or it should be cheaper. It should be just like 1 color, so 1 black, 1 red, 1 green. I just think it's a little bit pricey in a few ways. Just needs the numbers tweaked a bit more, I think. But it's fine, I guess. We have a Viashino Slaughtermaster, 1 and a red for a 1/1 with double strike, which is pretty interesting to see. And you can pay 1 black, 1 green, give it +1/+1 till end of turn. So I think even without that ability, just being a 1/1 with double strike for like 2 is actually pretty okay. I think there are a few ways of buffing it up beyond its ability, but I think this is a perfectly fine card. I quite like it. Back in the day, I used to run a mono red warrior deck and had a few of this Slaughtermaster in it. And even though I couldn't use the ability, didn't matter. I had a double striking creature just for 2 mana, which is and then you put any kind of equipment or auras on it, and then it really really gets out of control. So yeah, I like Viashino Slaughtermaster. Good art as well. A single Ember Weaver, so 2 and a green for a 2/3 with reach. As long as you control a red permanent, it has +1/+0 and has first strike. So if you've got a red permanent down, this being a 3/3 with first strike and reach is actually pretty good. I think it's just a fine card to have at common. I always got confused by this because the flavor text seems to imply it's from Naya. So it always seems weird that it's in the Jund deck, but that's fine. I'm fine with that. It's just I say 3/3 with first strike and reach for only 3 is pretty good, I think. Yeah. I think without the red permanent, maybe it's maybe a little bit undervalued though. It being only then 2/3 reach for 3 is maybe not so great, but yeah. 2 Goblin Outlanders, so 1 black and 1 red for a 2/2 with pro white. So yeah, as all the other Conflux decks do, has the Outlanders in it. And it's a Goblin as well, which counts for your dragon. So yeah, perfectly good card, I think. And a single Toxic Iguana, 1 red mana for a 1/1, has Death Touch as long as you control a green permanent, which is pretty good. Pretty fun way of red getting a Death Touch creature, I think. So yeah, I think that's okay. So then we have a Branching Bolt, so 1 red, 1 green. 1 colors, 1 red, 1 green. I keep doing that. I'm really sorry. So you choose 1 or both. Does 3 damage to a creature with flying, or it does 3 damage to a creature without flying. Obviously, the dream is you do both and get a 2 for 1. But if you were desperate and you needed just to hit only 1 creature, at least you got that option. So yeah, Branching Bolt's okay. 2 Dark Tempers, so 2 and a red. Does 2 damage to target creature if you control a black permanent, destroy that creature instead. So it's kind of like a way of red getting kind of like a dark banishing effect, I guess. It's not color locked, so it can potentially destroy any creature. Because we're still at the time in the game where removal spells are kind of color locked, like they usually can't hit black creatures. But yeah, this is okay. So there's potentially at best 2 and a red to destroy a creature. That's fine, and usually covers the weakness red burn cards have, is that if a creature has really high toughness, you can't usually burn it out because it's got too much toughness. This at least is a way of just straight up destroying something. But it's in the next set we're going to get Terminate, which is just same rarity and cheaper, and you don't have to jump through the hoops. So yeah. 2 Fiery Falls, so this is the expensive basic land cycling card in red. So 6 mana, do 5 damage to target creature, which is very expensive. Or it has basic land cycling for 1 and red, where you can discard it and search your library for a basic land card and put it into hand. So it helps fix your colours and stuff. But it's okay, I suppose. 2 Incinerates, classic Incinerate, 1 and a red, does 3 damage to target creature player, and creatures can't regenerate. That's fine. That's fine, I think. Not much to say about it. And then 2 Dragon Fodders, 1 and a red to make 2 Goblin creature tokens for your Voracious Dragon. So yeah, that's okay as well. I kind of wish there'd been three Dragon Fodders, but it is what it is. And then 2 Savage Lands, so which is the Jund Tri-land, 2 Terramorph Expanses. We've seen these in all the other Conflux decks, like this kind of mana base. Oh, it's not a 3/3/7. Ah, it's a 4/4/5 instead. So there we go. There's something a bit different there. I think mainly because I guess there's more multicolored cards in here, so it needs more green and more black, I guess, to balance things out. Maybe, I don't know. So what could have been? So I think the deck would benefit from something like Spore Burst. So this is 3 in a green. It has Domain, which we've not talked about yet, but we will see it in the next deck. You put a 1/1 green sapling creature token into play for every basic land type amongst lands you control. So at best, this is going to make 3 saplings, but I suppose that's okay. You've got, at least it's more sacrifice fodder, I suppose. Volcanic Fallout, I thought could be okay. Just 1 and 2 red. Incident can't be countered, does 2 damage to everything, which I think would be okay. Like you've got like a load of big creatures that have got a load of counters them, so they wouldn't be exactly phased by this, and this would get rid of small enemy creatures. I guess it could have been all right. Alternate rare, maybe Bloodhall Ooze. So it's 1 red for a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a black permanent, it gets a +1/+1 counter. At the beginning of your upkeep, you control a green permanent, it gets +1/+1 counter. So this would kind of just like keep growing, I suppose. Annoyingly, it doesn't have anything like trample or anything, so it would just end up being a big fatty. So maybe not the best alternate rare. I think the Voracious Dragon and the Charnel Hordworm are better, but I suppose this, what could have been. And also Rakamar, I thought could have been really interesting. So 2 and 2 red for a 2/2 with haste. Pay 1 red, tap, put 3/1 red elemental creature token with haste into play. I always assumed that the elemental she made dies at end of turn, like it gets sacrificed or it gets exiled or something. Nope, it just sticks around. So this is a way to kind of like, if you wanted to flood the board out with a bunch of tokens, you do this. It's a good way of making like kind of sacrifice fodder. I suppose. So yeah, Rakamar could have been interesting. Would have been nice actually to have Rakamar be like the foil face card and like be definitely in foil. I think that would have been really nice. But yeah. So in summary, I think it's okay. Actually, I think this is a case where the Shards of Alara Jund deck was a bit better because it lent more into the sort of like the Devour theme. This one feels, I don't know, it just doesn't kind of sit right with me. It's kind of an odd mix of cards, maybe, or it just feels very similar. It doesn't feel like it's doing really anything too different from the first one, or it's doing the same thing with just slightly different cards. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It feels a bit forgettable to me. Actually, if I'm honest, all these Conflux decks have felt a bit like flash in the pan. Like they have just not stuck in my memory at all. And I don't know if that's because I just wasn't paying attention to them when they came out, because I know they were down to 40 cards, and I know considered precons like kind of dead at the time because they'd gone down to 40 cards. Be like, oh well, there's no point paying attention to them. They're obviously going to like phase these out or something, or it's not worth paying attention to. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was. I think it was a mistake actually doing with these Conflux decks to go from to do a wave of 5 tricolor decks, then do a second wave of 5 tricolor decks, because they sort of just like blend into one another. So I think when we hit Khans of Tarkir, they do it in a much better way, where you have an initial wave of tricolor decks, then you have 5 enemy color decks, then you do 5 ally color decks, and I think that's a better way of making these more distinct, maybe. But obviously lessons were learned, I think, from Conflux, just because I think it's just very forgettable set, honestly. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Jund Appetite for War and also Conflux as a set overall. What are your thoughts? Stick any comments or stories or opinions you've got in the chat below. Always like reading people's comments. What are your thoughts just on Conflux in general and just Shards of Alara block? Really like to hear people's opinions on that. I'll be back next time. I'm going to look at the last deck from Conflux, which is the Naya one. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.